Welcome to the new McLaren. I say that because not only is this the latest model, but it's also a brand new type of McLaren. A new era, a new hybrid era. Called the Artura, it costs £185,500 and it's the company's first series production high-performance hybrid supercar. It's also the first model to be built on the McLaren carbon lightweight architecture that promises rigidity and featherweight design far superior to any of its rivals. It's a step change that, even at this level, doesn't come around often. This, as they say, is the big one.
Here it is, the Artura. It's got a name, it's not just a number, and it means the art of design and the future of technology. And there's no doubt about that because, well, look at it. It looks, well, like a McLaren. It's unmistakably McLaren, but it's leaner, meaner, and greener, obviously. There's nothing superfluous on any of the exterior design details. Everything is there for a reason. So, for example, you've got the radar at the front there, and on the other side there's just a small piece of carbon. They haven't put a blank in there to make it look symmetrical and then cut away part of the radiator intake. This louver above the wheel arch, its primary purpose is to lower the air pressure around the front wheel, but it also stops the dirty air from going into that massive side intake on the rear haunches. And actually, that beautifully sculpted door channel, which you can see underneath the wing mirror, that helps channel clean air into that side intake. And then there's the clamshell at the back. It's a massive one-piece clamshell, which was, well, according to McLaren, very difficult and expensive to engineer, but here it is. And it helps the design just look that much simpler. And look at the shut lines as well. There's fewer of them than we usually see on, well, cars like this, and they're much tighter than on previous McLarens.
No doubt the made-in-house monocoque will help McLaren finally deliver the build quality that its cars actually deserve. Constructed at the McLaren Composites Technology Centre in Sheffield, the structure is made using 4 brand new types of carbon and weighs just 82 kilograms. And get this, manufacturing tolerances allow just 0.75mm variance across the entire monocoque.
One of the most impressive bits about the monocoque on this car is that it's had to do more than any other fitted to a McLaren, because it has to house the safety cell for those batteries, because this is, of course, the first plug-in hybrid McLaren since the original P1. And that means it's absolutely dripping in new technology. The motor, for example, the electric motor, in most cases in the automotive world, including that on the P1, they use a radial flux motor, which means you've got magnets positioned around a rotor. But on the Artura, it uses an axial flux motor, which is basically a stator sandwiched in between 2 rotor hubs. And the benefit of that is you get a higher torque density, you get more power from it, and it's also lighter and smaller. It weighs just 15.4 kilograms, and it's situated directly in the transmission bell housing, so there's no extra gears to transfer the output. And get this, there's no reverse gear at all on the Artura. If you want to go backwards, then, well, the motor just goes in reverse.
And yet, it's what the Artura can do in its forward gears that's even more impressive. The 7.4 kilowatt battery gives an all-electric range of around 20 miles at speeds of up to 81 miles an hour. Together with the new 3-litre V6 twin-turbocharged power unit, there's a combined power and torque output of 671 brake horsepower and 530 pounds-foot of torque, respectively. Enough for 0 to 62 miles an hour in 3 seconds dead, and 0 to 120 in just over 8. At 160 kilograms, it's 24% lighter than the McLaren V8 and delivers almost 200 brake horsepower per litre, with peak power arriving at 7,500 RPM and the red line 750 revs later. Teamed with a new twin-clutch 8-speed transmission, packing shorter ratios than the old 7-speed box, it has the difficult task of harmonising ICE with EV in a car that revolves around driver engagement.
You know, another thing that I am intrigued about with this car is just how it's going to sound, because obviously it's now a hybrid V6, the straight petrol V8 has gone. It's also got a gasoline particulate filter, a GPF, that has affected the sound of other supercars that we've driven. And they've also put a big focus on refinements. So they've moved, for example, the chain drive from the front of the engine to the back, which sits further away from you, and you won't be able to hear the natural engine sounds as much. And although we can't actually drive this car around the studio at any great speed and you can listen to the noise, what we have got is a recording of this car's engine sound, so you can see what it's like for yourself. So there you go, you've heard what it sounds like. Let us know in the comments section below if you like it or not. Now, when it comes to choosing between different drive modes in this car, because obviously you've got the all-electric mode and the track mode, sport mode, comfort mode, they've moved the drive mode selectors from the center console onto the instrument binnacle. So you can still change them without having to take your hands off the wheel, but there's no switches on the wheel, so it's still beautifully uncluttered, and all you've got is this one-piece gear selector here, which is as lovely as ever. And actually, this instrument binnacle is attached to the wheel itself, so when you move it, the whole thing moves as one, which makes it easier to line up. And it's the same story with this seat, because this is the optional Club Sport seat, and instead of having the base and the backrest move independently, it all pivots as one. And it's quite hard for you to see that from where you are now, but if you look on the cutaway, you can see everything just rotating around itself. It's very clever. Also, if you're a taller person, you're 6'4", for example, this car has been designed for you, because I'm average height and I've got loads of legroom, feels really airy in here, and there's tons of headroom as well. And that might sound a bit boring, but if you're larger and you want a supercar, this is it.
In fact, the whole interior is clearly a big step up from previous McLarens. The 8-inch vertical infotainment screen uses an Android-based software that is finally compatible with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Other niceties are dependent on which of the 3 non-standard trim levels you opt for, namely Performance, Tech Luxe and Vision. Plus, if your taste demands, the McLaren Special Operations Division will make every effort to customise the interior to the buyer's spec. The Artura's electrical architecture is also worth a quick mention, because it's one of the first to market with a zonal domain-based Ethernet system. And as crushingly boring as that sounds, it allows the car to be more future-proof, have less cabling, and deliver Tesla-esque over-the-air updates.
This electrical architecture also helps you go quicker by using a system called Pirelli Cyber Tyre. And although that sounds like a Terminator-style tyre from the future, what it actually is a little microchip embedded in the tyres, which gives more information to the car than your average wheel rim sensor ever could. So with these optional Pirelli P0 Corsa tyres, McLaren reckons that you can get a similar amount of grip and performance than you would from the far more extreme Trofeo Rs without the cyber tyre system.
Also helping with grip is a new rear suspension system. The upper link is a unique wishbone, but what would ordinarily be the lower wishbone has been split into two to become a multi-link component. What's more, the toe control arm is positioned further from the wheel hub, spacing it away from the upright. This means you get less weight, less unsprung mass, and greater rear toe stiffness, which aids handling. And of course, all of this works with McLaren's proactive damping control that uses sensors to read the road ahead and predict the appropriate damping response.
The Artura is also the first McLaren to have an electronically controlled differential, and the reason for that is because the mechanically controlled differential that they've used before is larger and heavier, so for packaging purposes the eDiff makes much more sense. And also, with the electric motors that are obviously fitted with this car, the responses that are needed to deal with that instant torque simply aren't really compatible with a mechanical system. So again, the eDiff is the best solution. And it also works in conjunction with McLaren's variable drift control. And you can imagine what that does. And actually there's a little slider on the infotainment screen where you can choose how much sideways action you want from your supercar.
The Artura is undoubtedly set to be a significant step forward for McLaren. New engine, new suspension, new cabin, new electrics, new approach, new everything. On first impressions, it has everything going for it.
I really hope that the Artura can deliver on its clearly huge promise and huge investment that McLaren has made in this car, because let's face it, it needs to work. Anything but a raving success just wouldn't be enough. For a supercar manufacturer moving into the brave new world of electrification and hybridization, this is the moment of truth.